When I found this little table at an estate sale, I had no idea that it could look this good.
So let's jump in. Welcome, welcome. How are you today, friends? I have a new project and it's a tiny one, and you might be surprised, but this project is going to be neutral. Dun, dun, dun. I know. I usually paint wild and wacky colors, but this is a custom request for a client, and today's color choice is going to be Chantilly. Chantilly is a new color from the Silk All-in-One Mineral Paint line. This paint is self-leveling. It has a built-in top coat, a built-in primer, and it is fantastic. Fantastic. I see some people joining me. Okay, as always, I do a lot of chatting, not a lot of reading the comments. So if I happen to miss your comment when it rolls by the screen, don't worry, I will see it after and I can answer it then. If you're looking for any of the products that I'm using today, I did put a link in the description so that you too can shop and find all things Dixie Belle. Everything here that you're going to see in this video today is from DixieBellePaint.com. I am a Dixie Belle brand ambassador, and that means I only use Dixie Belle paint products. All right, so what are we doing? Well, it's a tiny table. Tiny table. But listen, this tiny table packs a punch. It's got dovetails, it's solid wood, it's got cute little scallops. So even though it's going to be a nice and light, airy color, it's still going to be pretty darn cute. I think that this table will be adorable. I think I'm going to be doing some Voo Doo Gel Stain on the top. I grabbed my bleached cypress. I am waiting on the Amazon man to come and bring me my new sandpaper because I've burned all my sandpaper up on this big giant project behind me, and I need more. So once he delivers my sandpaper, I can sand off the finish on the top of this piece, and we can add a beautiful bleached cypress, but that will be another day, because today we're going to sit on the floor. We're going to talk about all things prep. All right, let's move my seat out of the way and let's get to work. Let's get to work. Hello, I see some people watching. Hi, Michelle. How are you today? Okay, solid wood table. Picked this up at a little estate sale a couple weekends ago. It's a little dirty, but we're going to do proper prep today. We're going to talk about proper prep. We're going to talk about what we do to clean our projects, and we're going to talk about how we do it, because as many times as I paint things wild and wacky colors, I get a million questions about prep, and this video should answer them all for you. So let's move everything off the top of my piece before I have a wild accident, and we're going to talk about how we're going to prep our piece. So this piece was brought in from the shed today. All I've done is put it here, took a picture of it, and just took the knob off of it while we were chatting. So I've taken off the hardware and I'm going to inspect my piece. First things first is you give it like the little wobble test. It's up on wheels, so if this wasn't on wheels, I know this isn't wobbly because I sat on it today and it didn't wobble at all. It's strong, it's sturdy, solid wood. If this was structurally unsure, if you were having to worry about the legs being loose, flip it upside down, tighten your joints, get out your wood glue, get out your nail gun. Don't be afraid of a little work, a little TLC behind the work. So how do I clean my projects? Well, you have a couple options. You have pristine clean, Terra Clean, or White Lightning. Why couldn't I think of White Lightning? Terra Clean. But guess what? They're all the same thing. They're all the same thing. Dixie Belle makes this product. It is a cleaner, okay? You can actually buy it in this can right here. It's ready to go. You don't even have to mix up the darn stuff yourself. You can actually get this in the powder version or the ready-to-go version. So this is all I do. What we're doing today is how I would clean my project. I'm going to spray it down with White Lightning. I'm going to grab paper towel, or you could use your bag of rags if you really wanted to. And we're going to give these legs a nice little clean. So this piece was in an estate sale that I went to a couple weeks ago. I'm not gonna lie, the house itself was a little bit dirty, but that's okay. We're not afraid of a little dirt over here. I mean, I get pretty dirty over here on the Top Drawer Day page. I really don't, just usually sanding dirt. But you wanna give your piece a nice clean, because look, That's what's going to happen. So let's keep turning this piece around. I put it up on its little wheels. Let's keep spraying it until we make sure that we've cleaned out any dust, any dirt. This is a great deglosser. And I'm really going to kind of work my towel in around these spindles because this is where the dirt likes to hide. And I don't want the dirt on here. I already did clean the bottom, FYI, before I started. I turned it upside down and did the bottom. So take your rag, get into those little cracks, and give it a clean. Look how gross. Imagine if you painted over top of that. Yikes. Would not be cute. Would not be cute. Okay, so let's keep going. So what is White Lightning? Well, it's a TSP-based cleanser that allows you to really get in here, remove the oils, remove the dirt, remove the junk you don't want. Now, I do want to tell you that it is proper prep to make sure you rinse with water. Okay, I don't mean like give it a bath in water. I just got a little spray bottle over here. We're gonna do the same thing that we're doing right now to clean it, just to give it a little rinse off. Look, super gross. Okay, let's not forget the drawer of the piece, because that's gonna have to get cleaned too. That's where everybody's hands are touching, right? You can clean the inside, the outside, the underpiece, every single piece with White Lightning, okay? But if you were gonna do this on a piece that you weren't painting, know that the White Lightning itself could be a bit of a deglosser. It could take away some of that shine. So if you were just cleaning something just to clean it, you might be best to know that you could take away some of that shine. Okay, so now my drawer has been cleaned. It has been rinsed with water. Let's rinse the rest of the little table here. Like I said, it's not a big job, just a little table. I have a friend who is moving into a new home soon, and this is going to be going in her daughter's room. So her daughter picked a nice white color, Chantilly. So just rinsing it off, and like I said, I'm not going to clean the top because I'm going to sand this down and stain it. I feel like little tables, they get a lot of use, and a sanded finish that is stained and then sealed in like gator hide is nice and strong, so that when it goes in a kid's room, it's just going to stay. It's going to stay really good. All right, so here's my little table. Okay. My little table has been inspected, cleaned with White Lightning, rinsed with water. I see a question. Hi, Grace. How are you? Okay. FYI, if you're also a Dixie Belle retailer and you're watching and you have a store location, please drop it in the comments below. I'm always happy to support my local Dixie Belle retailers. Let everybody know where they can get all these products from, okay? Drop it in there. Now, to sand or not to sand? That is the question. When I'm using silk paint, because this is what the product is going to be. When I'm using silk paint, I like to give it a good sand scuff. What do I mean by sand scuff? Well, I'm going to show you because this is a teaching video. All right, let's even put this back up here so that you can see it nice and close. So I'm going to take some sander. You can take a sander block, you can take a sander pad, whatever you got handy. I like to just kind of give it a little sand. We're not getting crazy in here. I'm not sanding it down to raw wood. I'm just giving it a little bit of like tooth, a little bit of a gripper, right? Like a little bit of something for that paint to grab onto, especially around the edges. Where the edges might be shiny, I like to just do this and scuff them up. So, I'm going to do the same thing to the legs. And it doesn't really matter what kind of grit you're using. I mean, both these are going to be the same. I'm just giving it a little bit of a gripper. I'm going to be using a primer today that does have, you hear that noise? It's like nails on a chalkboard. The gripping primer does have the ability to make your paint grip well, and I'm going to be doing that first. But just as a little extra added insurance, I like to scuff up my piece. And like I said, doesn't matter what grit of sandpaper you're using. It's just what I do. especially on the edges that are like a little shiny. This also helps remove any of that like loose little bits of veneer that might be on there. Like any loose little bits that might just be flaky. This is going to allow you to protect that area. Okay, so I'm going to wipe off my dust. Why also do I sand after I clean? Do you know the answer? I get this question a lot. They're like, you just cleaned and then you sanded? Why didn't you do it the other way around? Because if there was dirt and gross on this, and I took my sanding block and rubbed it on there, I'm rubbing the dirt and the gross into my work. And I don't want to do that. So I always do it in this order. There's no rules in painting. I'm just giving you the lowdown on what I do. Okay, so let's talk about Bonding Boss, why I'm using it, and how I apply it. Bonding Boss is a adhesion primer that is also a stain blocking primer. We used to have Slick Stick and Boss. We now have combined them together. This is two products in one. This comes in clear, which this is actually clear. I know it looks milky, but it comes in clear, in gray, and in white. I use clear if I'm possibly going to be sanding some edges to show a distress, which could happen on this piece. I haven't decided yet. I use gray when I use pinks and yellows, and I use white for everything else all the time. If you were to put down a nice white primer and then you paint your project with a nice light color, I'm going to tell you that you will use less amounts of paint. A good primer is going to allow you to, number one, prep properly. Number two, use less amounts of paint, which is always good, right? Always good. So this is Bonding Boss in clear. How you apply this primer is up to you. You could use a foam roller. You could use a foam applicator. You could use a regular brush. I use a chip brush. I don't like using my great brushes for these primers because I have a hard time washing, not for any other reason than I'm 100% completely lazy, because my brushes don't get washed immediately. Sometimes they sit around a little bit, and if I let that primer sit on my good brushes, I take the chance of it like hardening my good brushes, and I love my good brushes. So I just use a chip brush that I can throw in the bin after. How do you apply it? Well, let's talk about that. So this is clear. I know it looks milky, but it's not. When it dries, it will be clear. I'm going to lightly apply 2 even coats of Bonding Boss to this entire project, waiting approximately 2 to 4 hours in between coats of Boss. Okay, why am I waiting 2 hours in between coats of Boss? Because I want each coat to dry thoroughly before the next one goes in. Okay, so there is my Bonding Boss. You can see that it's wet, it's a little milky, but it's going to dry 100% completely clear. All right, so my project today, and this is kind of boring with you, but maybe y'all want to just hang out. My project today with you here on the Top Drawer RVA page is to just talk about primer, because you cannot paint on top of primer for 24 hours. So this little table cannot get paint for 24 hours. You want your primer to cure nice and hard and get it to be as good as it can be. If you were to come in before your time frame, right? If you were to come here tonight and paint your project, you take the risk of this Bonding Boss not being cured, and you take the risk of the Bonding Boss not working to the best of its ability, okay? So the rules are: apply 2 even coats, waiting approximately 2 to 4 hours in between coats of primer, then waiting your full 24 hours before paint. Now, why do you think I'm using a bonding primer on a little table like this? It could be because I don't want to sand my work, right? Maybe I don't want to get in here and sand, and I want to make sure that my paint's going to stick. Here comes Luna Petunia. Luna, you can come over here. There's room here. That's a girl. Y'all remember Luna, right? Little Luna, my shop dog, is she's gonna be 11 this year. 11 years old. That's old in dog years. She's an old mama who's gonna like come in here and kiss my face if I'm not careful. Yeah, so wait your 24 hours before you come in here and apply your paint, knowing that after the full 24 hours, your paint will adhere and stick very well. I know you're probably asking questions, but I can't see that far. I'm kind of old myself, and I don't have my glasses in here. So I'll reread them after and answer any questions that might pop up. Unless I have some Dixie Belle experts on here with me, which always happens. If Patty's watching, she knows the answer to everything. She can hop in and answer it for me as well. So I'm going to apply this whenever I don't want to sand, but this piece is a little dicey with the possible bleed through. And since I'm painting it in Chantilly, which is a nice light color, and even though it's going to be Silk Alma mineral paint, I am just covering my bases, because there is nothing worse than painting a piece of furniture, thinking you did the proper work, and then when you have it dry, you find that you have a whole bunch of bleed through. I don't paint a lot of light colors to begin with, so when I do, I always take the extra added step to just cover my tail. I just want to make sure that I'm not screwing up. So do I overuse Bonding Boss? Probably, but do I know that I'm like 100% sure that my paint will, number one, adhere well, number two, not have any bleed through? For sure. It is my go-to. It is my go-to. So do you have to do this to every project? No, but this project tells me a little bit about its story when I clean it, and I can see those tannins coming through on the cloth. I just think that it's just the extra added insurance that I need. Hope that helps with the reasoning why. The second thing is, do you sand in between coats of Bonding Boss? Sure, if you like. If you feel like you're not getting like a nice smooth enough finish, you can take a nice gentle sanding pad and give it a light scuff sand. But don't do that after your last coat, because you don't want to remove any of the finish where you want it to stay. In between coats, I'd say go for it, because if you removed it too far down to the bare wood, the second coat could probably save you. But if you were doing it on the second coat, you take the chance that you might pull it back to the raw wood. And the reason we're covering this wood is because of possible stains and bleed through, right? So I am just applying my Boss, and I didn't do the top part of this side. Let's go back. Go back, go back. Catching any little drips or runs, but it dries fairly thin. Remember, I'll be adding a second coat to this. And then the last thing will be adding my Chantilly, which is that nice light color. You can see it right here. Nice creamy color. I haven't used it yet. It's a brand new can. Have you used Chantilly? Has anybody tried this color yet? I haven't. It's from the new Cottage collection that Dixie Belle released. Not Cottage collection, Countryside collection that Dixie Belle released recently. There's 7 new colors, all neutrals, all very, very light and airy. And then I've used a couple of them, but they haven't been this one. So Chantilly will be on my list to get done. I do see down here, I wonder if you all can come down for a little ride. Can you see right here a small dog, a small animal, dog, cat, what other animal likes to eat furniture? There's some marks down here, some teeth marks. So after I apply my first coat of Bonding Boss, I might come back in and do a little bit of patching with my mud. This is Dixie Belle's mud. This will fill in any small holes, any problems with, veneer breaking, anywhere where you need to kind of fix something up. That is the product I use for that. So, but I didn't do it first because I literally just brought this in today to work on. So I'll do it second. I'll do it after I get this Boss onto my piece. You can also use Dixie Belle's mud to create some really great raised stencil designs. It is a lot of fun to create a raised stencil with mud and get a really cool look. I do it a lot. But this table is just a little baby basic table that I thought we could talk about proper prep with, because if you're painting, this is the stuff that matters. I know you all think it's about the color and the design choice, But honestly, it's always about the proper prep. If you don't do this step, you could run into a problem and then you'd have to repaint it after having to add that bonding boss again. So I like to just do my extra due diligence here and get that on the piece. So there's my one even coat, okay? I'm going to now wait 2 hours. I'm gonna go make some tacos. Well, actually, that's a lie. My husband came home at lunch and made the meat, so all I'm gonna do is just put mine together and eat it. But I'm gonna go eat some tacos and then come back here and give it a slight sand to remove any little debris, any little lines that I don't love, and then I will apply a second coat. And then tomorrow, because you have to wait that full 24 hours for this to get dry, tomorrow I can come in and add my paint. I might, if my Amazon man comes in time, sand down the top and work on some Voo Doo Gel Stain, but don't worry, I will include it all in the video. And all these videos are saved to my YouTube page. You can follow along at the Top Drawer RVA on YouTube. I have a ton of videos over there. I have an entire series that's built just for beginner painters. Perfect if you're a retailer and you're trying to show somebody how to paint. You're always welcome to share my videos with those people that need to have a basic instruction, because sometimes you just need to see somebody do it before you feel comfortable enough to attempt it. At my shop where I actually sell my items, I have a QR code. If you need help with your customers and you are a Dixie Belle retailer, you could print out a QR code, send me a DM, or you can get it off of my link tree, and they can go directly to my YouTube channels to find all of these products used in the correct manner with a lot of talking, because we know I like to talk because I'm here by myself all day long, or the dogs. And they will learn a lot by watching a YouTube channel, and I only use Dixie Belle paint products, so you know that you will have those items in your shop. I hope that helps you on your painting journey. I hope you guys had fun hanging out with me doing some proper prep today. If you are a new beginner painter, I totally recommend getting your White Lightning, Terra Clean, or Pristine Clean. Remember, they're all the same thing. Remembering that you're going to rinse with water after you're done, and then grab some bonding boss. This is clear, bonding boss in clear. And then choose whatever paint color your little heart desires, because that part's up to you. But proper prep is not a bad 4-letter word. Just know that you can get it done, and you can get it done fairly quickly. I usually have 1 or 2 or 3 projects in a row at the same time.